Hello and welcome back to Field Notes Podcast. I'm your host Eden, and thank you for joining me for another episode today. I'm excited to bring you the first little things I'm loving episode that I brought in a while. I haven't done one of these in a while where I just kind of run through some of my favorite things, food, drink, wellness, vibes, thoughts, all the things. And let's just get into it. So yeah, I'm just going to run through a few of my faves in different categories of my life, but really a heavy wellness theme. I want to kind of just update you on all the things in my life that they're like projects. They're not fully formed. I'm by no means an expert on these things. These are just things that I'm kind of like testing out and things that are works in progress when it comes to my wellness and my personal development in my life right now, kind of my current wellness obsessions, you could say. Some of them are tangible recommendations and some of them are just more routines and rituals. So starting off, lymphatic facial massaging. We have to talk about it, okay? If no one has turned you on to lymphatic facial massaging, we gotta change that. We're changing that today. I don't know how this came into my arena. I have no idea. It was one of those things that just comes up on Instagram, and before you know it, you're 1 year later and you've been massaging your face for 30 minutes a day for the last year. But I stumbled across this woman on Instagram, Anastasia Beauty Fascia. You have to follow her. I'm obsessed with her, and I'm convinced. I've seen a lot of facial massaging accounts because they're like in my algorithm now. I hadn't deeply investigated them all, but I'm convinced she's the best. She's so knowledgeable. She really gets into the science of like the lymphatic system, the blood system, like how collagen's produced in the body. How she describes it like just clicks for me. But basically, if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically this woman she studies the fascia and teaches you how to like massage your face and your muscles and the different like layers of tissue of your face in order to like obviously make it look better, but also to help the lymph move and circulate, because the essential premise that I've gleaned so far, which is by no means comprehensive, nor should you be using me as your resource for this other than to say I recommend it in my own personal experience, is that when the muscles grow tight in any part of your body, what I've gathered is like they kind of like dry out. And so like fascia and specifically lymph, the lymph cannot flow through it. And so you get stagnation. So like lymph, which is your body's, it's a fluid in your body, will stagnate where there isn't movement and like proper flow. Also, the fascia is just a fascinating topic. I really want to learn more about the fascia. I should try and find someone on to talk about the fascia on the podcast, because fascia is like this, again, in my understanding, it is like this almost like netting or like a bodysuit of tissue, and it holds everything kind of in place. So like if you're always in a specific, your posture and these kinds of things, if you always do certain movements, your fascia kind of learns to, it's like a bag, like almost, if I understand it, or like a sack, for lack of a better, like a netting that just kind of like keeps, it learns to like stay in that position, but it can move. And so it's like, even if your muscles are moving, your fascia can still be kind of like entrained to stay in a certain kind of posture, in my understanding, allegedly. So anyways, the massaging, you do this massage. She has this one pin video and I'll link it below. But basically when I was doing my wedding prep journey, which A, I was on a budget, and B, I'm a holistic girly, and C, I become more and more low maintenance in a lot of ways. In some ways, in other ways, not so much. But I had a very chill wedding prep experience, and one of the only things that I really got into was like this facial massaging. And I have to say, some of my wedding pics, I'm unrecognizable. Okay, but seriously, let me put like a before and after if you're watching on the YouTube. If you're not on the YouTube, basically you can really see the difference. I started doing this in December, was the first time I like So almost a year now, but I took a long break. But anyways, I started doing it in December and my wedding was in June, and you can just see month over month, like it's not just slimming the face. It's like you can see where there's like bags kind of under my eyes, and you can just see over time my face became just much more, I don't know, just the muscles relaxed, and as a result of that, it just kind of like smoothed out, if that makes sense. If you want to see the pictures, you have to come watch on YouTube. So I started doing it in December. Anastasia has this one, also I love her personality. Like she claps back at all of her haters and I just can't get enough of her. She has this one pin video where it's just like a daily tutorial, and I literally did that tutorial. That's all I did. It's like 10 minutes. I did that nightly, almost every night, not every night, but most nights, and not all the time. Like I would forget. Like I said, I guess I kind of am in my like type B when it comes to like being rigid about things era. And then I took a long break after the wedding because I was like, I have fatigue. I have fatigue of trying to improve my appearance. So I took a break and then I just started it back up. But what I want to say about it is that another thing she talks about, which is why I love her and specifically recommend her, she talks all about the nervous system. And she talks about how when you're changing your posture and your fascia, in order for it to be sustainable, you actually have to change your nervous system. Like that's how you create the transformation. Because the other thing is, like I've talked about this. I think I talked about this in like the episode, the life update episode, when I talk about the bowspring. But the posture and the nervous system have this chicken and egg feedback loop situation going on. So if your face, you're always scrunching your face muscles and frowning and your jaw has all this tension, it's like that is the product of stress, nervous system being in chronic states. It's shaping your physicality, but then also your physicality transmits signals back to your brain and nervous system, kind of reinforcing that. So it's hard because it's like you can't just break your posture and like Anastasia talks about like not holding your face in these ways, like these scrunched up ways all the time. But it's hard because the way we hold our face is the reflection of our nervous system state. So to like really organically at the root of the root of the root stop reinforcing these muscular or biomechanical patterns, we also have to change our nervous system in a deep way, which is like, well, that's a task. That's a task because I need to go from being stressed all the time to stressed none of the time, basically. I say all this to say, I do the face massaging at night and it is so relaxing because it's like a nervous system intervention. It's like, I especially notice this around my eyes. When I do the massaging around my eyes, I immediately relax because the eyes are like directly connected to the brain and like they're a direct reflection of the nervous system. Like our eyes change so much if we're in fight or flight or freeze or collapse or fawn. And so when I release my eye muscles and around my eyes and my temples and my forehead using the fascia facial massaging, my entire nervous system relaxes and lets go, and I could literally fall asleep then and there. And it's only in that moment that I realize how much tension I have been holding. I feel like just talking about it, my eyes are like, oh, we're relaxing, like it's triggering it. But only then and there do I realize how much tension I've been holding and what true relaxation and a true parasympathetic nervous system feels like. So 10 out of 10 recommend for that alone, especially if you have like problems going to sleep. So many benefits. Okay. The next two I want to talk about, the next two wellness faves that I'm on a soapbox about right now. First is sunlight. Now, there's so much science about sunlight and I don't know it other than it creates the production of vitamin D, which is a hormone, not a vitamin. So you can't really take it in a capsule. You have to make it inside of your body. But sunlight does that. And vitamin D does all kinds of good things for you. And then also the sun is neurologically downregulating, which means that it also takes you out of sympathetic nervous system. And I'm just now going to speak to my direct experience. So ever since I moved to California, it has been just over a year and a couple months. I have been getting so much more sunlight, both inadvertently and advertently, as I am learning more and more about the benefits of sunlight. And one of the things that I immediately noticed is that I was unwell before I was getting this much sun. I cannot explain it other than the whole seasonal affective disorder, the whole our brains are lacking vitamin D, the whole our brains are shriveling up and we're dying because we're not out in the sun and we're not exposed to the sunlight and we're not getting light in our eyes. I would hear Andrew Huberman and every male biohacker under the sun being like, you gotta get sunlight. You gotta get sunlight. And I was like, this is so exhausting to me because you're making it seem like my morning routine needs to be 5 hours long and I have to wake up at 4:30 and then I have to go stand in the sun for 10 minutes and then I have to go chug a gallon of salt water and then I have to this and that and then I have to oil my entire body. Like, it was so fatiguing to me to hear that. And I was like, it was just almost, it was being taken in this very biohacky way. Like, this is this hack that you do to like hack your body. I was like, I'm not trying to hack my body. I'm not trying to turn my life into a to-do list and trying to turn my health into a to-do list like that. Just, I'm not trying to turn my health and wellness into a to-do list that's 10 hours a day and that the whole day I'm just checking boxes all day. Like, that's just not what I'm about. It's not what I'm here for. So it wasn't until I was exposed to a different kind of person who teaches about sunlight that it all started clicking, and I was organically having this experience living in California. I'm just here to say it's changed my life. It has changed my life in a way that I can't even put into words. I'll circle back, but all I need you to know right now is that the mood is so much higher effortlessly. It's happening effortlessly. It is not an effortful thing. If I was converting to a religion, I would be converting to worshiping the sun at this point in my life. I'm about to move down to the beach into a little surf shack because I'm trying to be in the sun all the time. So I say that to say I've noticed so many benefits, just mood, hormones, because the sun also regulates the production of hormones in your body. So the sun is what transmits information to the pituitary gland, I believe, which is the gland that orchestrates the different hormones. So like, this is so important for sleep, for melatonin, for cortisol, for our cycle as women. So I've noticed so many benefits, like sleeping through the night so solidly, and also now tying into my next wellness obsession and just research project, which is my menstrual cycle and trace minerals. I'm about to tie these two things together. Third wellness thing that I'm really into is a very recent discovery. It has been like maybe a month to 6 weeks. This one's really fresh. This one's fresh off the press. So I will have to report back with more data, more time, more observation, more research and understanding. Trace minerals. Trace minerals. I know you've been hearing it. If you're like me, you've been hearing this for years. I've been hearing trace minerals for years. It's one of those things that's like been in my Amazon cart for 5 years. And I was just like, but that's such a luxury, mineral. Like, I know we're all depleted from minerals and everyone needs to be taking a mineral supplement, but I was still just like, that's such a luxury and I'm not a supplement person. And I just ignored it and wrote it off. It wasn't until recently I was just like, you know what? We're taking some minerals. We just need to. I just felt intuitively it's time. Okay, so I start taking these minerals. I will link the minerals that I'm taking. Now, okay, for background, trace minerals, basically like back in the day, the soil, the water, it had trace minerals, like trace amounts of key minerals, magnesium, potassium, sodium, boron, these minerals. And we need those minerals for vital functions in our body and for cell function. If you're a mineral expert, you want to come on the pod, let me know. So the minerals, it's basically that. It's like a dropper full of it's filled with minerals and you put it in your water and you take it. I noticed such a difference from this. The first difference I noticed was in my level of thirst. Now, I'm a thirsty woman, and another wellness fave that it's been a long time standing that I've mentioned, I think maybe in a past episode, is putting salt into my water. So basically making my own electrolyte. So I literally barely ever drink straight water. I always drink water with Himalayan salt, because Himalayan salt is another source of minerals. There are some salts that are like known for their minerals and you can get those, but this was like the Redmond's Himalayan salt from Amazon, which does have minerals, but clearly it wasn't enough. So anyways, so I noticed first with taking the trace minerals, I was way less thirsty. Like I was like, oh my God, my body is so thirsty because it needs more minerals. I'm just gonna keep saying minerals a million gazillion times. Also, my like taste buds changed for certain foods. Like every morning I would eat oatmeal with grass-fed butter, like a huge chunk of grass-fed butter and a big spoonful of almond butter and a couple of dates and cacao powder. And all of a sudden that was like, I ate that for months and I would never get sick of it. And I swear to God, all of a sudden I became sick of it. And I swear to God, it's because of the minerals. I'm now like getting whatever craving, there was some craving for something, that nutrient that's in like the cacao or something. I don't know. This is all just my uneducated hypothesis. So I noticed that, but most profoundly, I noticed my menstrual cycle, I had 0 PMS symptoms. And I'm very blessed in the sense that I've never had these like horrible PMS symptoms, except when I had my copper IUD. It's a story for another day. But I've always struggled with my luteal phase, emotionally and psychologically more than anything. Now I am currently operating under the hypothesis that the combination of so much more sunlight, which is hormonally regulating, obviously eating well, which I do, and having less stress, and now the minerals, my PMS, I'll just say, like my luteal phase was already, it had greatly improved over the last 6 months to a year. But when I started taking the minerals, it vanished. And this was a foreign experience. But it was like, there wasn't even one day. There was actually one day where I was like, is my period coming tomorrow? Because I do feel a little bit in the feels. And it was so mild. And literally every single day, other than that one day, I wouldn't have even known that it was about to come. I was just completely feeling wonderful the entire time, which is profound. Like so many women struggle with this. If you struggle with this, you know what it's like to not have to go through that luteal dip. Absolutely life-changing. I was like, this is how it's supposed to be. I felt so profoundly in my bones. I was like, this is how it is supposed to be as a woman. We're not supposed to go through this hell every single month. So trace minerals. Okay, 2 more quick things. This one, you're kind of gonna laugh, but this is real. Okay. Eating more food. Yes, this is a wellness hack and a wellness fave. Not only is it that, this is something we should all be discussing as women specifically. Now, I've been on a food healing journey and it's healed. It's as healed as it can be given the context in which we live and the societal forces at play in which we live and breathe as women in the United States of America. So we're not coming from like a bad place to a good place. We're coming from a good place to an exceptional place with this next thing I'm about to tell you, or just discuss my experience with. It wasn't until I discovered Corey Malloy, who is an influencer and educator in the space of pro-metabolic eating, which we're not even getting into that. But basically, if you are like me, you grew up learning that weight is something to be watched and it's something to be controlled. And at the end of the day, you have to keep it in check. Because if you don't keep it in check, you're just going to endlessly expand. And so there's this degree of control that you have to have with food, which is just now the perspective and the mindset that I'm in, just even saying that as like, what? It wasn't until I discovered Corey Malloy. She talks about this and the one of her podcasts, they talk about this, which is basically the idea that your metabolism is not a fixed thing. And so there's this idea of like, oh, your metabolism is fixed. This is the premise of pro-metabolic eating, or the pro-metabolic world, which I don't know. I'm not super immersed in. I've just kind of learned what I learned secondhand through Corey Malloy. But basically, your metabolism is flexible, and ideally you want it to be flexible. And I didn't realize that even though I eat healthy and I eat clean, I eat grass-fed protein, I eat grass-fed butter, I still was always eating with the mindset of like, well, I still need to like not watch it, but just like, if I eat more, I'm gonna get bigger, and if I eat less, I'm gonna get smaller. But I didn't realize that actually your metabolism needs to kick online, and your metabolism is like a furnace running inside of you. And the goal is actually to have that furnace, kind of like Agni, the concept of Agni in Ayurveda, if you are familiar. It's like the goal is to have that fire be not too big and not too crazy, and also not dampened. You want it this nice, glowing, warm furnace. And that's like our metabolism. And our metabolism also has to do with our cells and our body, and the turnover of cells and the regeneration of cells, and the destruction or digestion of like waste that we're trying to get rid of. And so I didn't realize that I was never looking at my relationship to food or my relationship to my body in the sense of like, what I give it is the extent to which it can thrive. Like, the way that I fuel it and also my relationship to the way that I fuel it is going to be translated into the output of my body and my actual physical energy and capacity for life. Now again, duh, but like, it is hit in a new way. It's hit in a new way. And I realized I was still under eating. I was still letting myself become way too hungry in between meals throughout the day. And this was causing like irritability and like my nervous system to become like the first stages of dysregulation. Because when you are not eating at the first cues of hunger, you are literally just letting yourself hang out in a depleted state and just letting yourself become more depleted, which lowers your Agni, right? Like that lowers your metabolic fire and causes it to say, oh, well, I have to slow down how fast I'm burning fuel, which means like I'm going to have less energy. I'm going to be more moody. I'm going to be more irritable. I'm going to be snappier. I'm going to be more self-critical. I'm going to feel more overwhelmed. And like, how many women is this just a normal experience? That's just what we think is life. Like, oh yeah, it's just normal for me to like not have eaten and be like snappy and overwhelmed in my day by my to-do list. Like I've been really having this experience with realizing that is not normal, and that I need to eat more food. I need to eat more food. I need to eat more fat. I need to eat more protein. And also like the hormonal dysregulation that comes from not eating. I'm just here to tell you everything that the biohacking bros have been saying. It was right. It was right all along. They've just been saying it in this masculine way that was not resonating for me. Then now that I'm learning it from women and about women's bodies, it's making so much more sense. And I'll link the podcast, the Village Sessions podcast. And Corey Malloy is the woman who I started learning this from. So eating more. 10 out of 10 recommend eating more. You're not going to just endlessly expand. You're just going to have more energy come online. Like obviously if you're like listening to your body, and there's obviously nuances to it. Like if you're healthy in these things. I'm not a nutritionist, an expert, a medical doctor, and this should not be construed as medical advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, last thing I'll just share is a recipe that I am obsessed with. It is such a life hack. It is an unlock, and that is chuck roast. My sister sent me, she turned me on to this, so shout out Arlen. There's this, I'll put it in the description, but it's basically the viral chuck roast recipe. This is how it started for me. It started making that, and I would make it for burrito night. So I'd make the chuck roast in the oven and do it for burritos. But here's the thing. Once you learn how to make chuck roast, which is so easy, might I add, okay? You don't have to marinate it. All you have to do is you need a Dutch oven. You need to preheat it to 325, and you need to make sure you put it in with plenty of time to cook before dinner, because it is a slow cook process. So you need time, you need planning. But all you have to do, turn on that oven, just set the reminder at 12 p.m. or whatever time. If you're at home, you put that thing in with the spices and the preparation for whatever dish you're going to make. That's it. You literally put it in there and you let it sit in there and you don't have to do anything else. And what you get in return is outstanding. It is so filling. It's so delicious. It's so much protein and fat, and it's, oh my God, you have to get making chuck roast. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Specifically, a pot roast. I cannot get enough pot roast. Potatoes, some carrots, some broth, some red wine or grape juice or whatever you want to use as your, to make the gravy. This is all I want to eat. Also, if you want to just visualize like chuck roast, so you get it and it's just a big chunk of meat. It's like if you don't cook a lot, and especially if you don't cook a lot of meat, it's one of those chunks at the store you'd be like intimidated by, because it's like this brick and you're like, how do I cook that? What do I do with it? I'm telling you right now, it's a hidden gem. All you have to do is put your spices all over it, put the salt all over it, pepper all over it, like whatever you're gonna flavoring. If you're gonna make the pot roast and just follow the recipe that I'm gonna give you in the below, you put it into the Dutch oven, as I said. Okay, you know what a Dutch oven is? It's a big pot and it has a lid. You can get a cast iron one for like $30 on Amazon. You just put it, it's a big piece of meat, cover it with the spices. You put it in the pot, you put the lid on, you put it into the preheated oven, 325. That's it. You literally walk away. You put a timer for 4.5 hours. Depending on how big it is, you have to adjust the time. It's really hard to overcook it. And then you come back and you shred it apart, and it is, you just want to eat it by the forkful. And you can even remove the lid. You can crank up the heat if you really want to. You can get it crispy and like get that crust on it. Oh my God. And again, you can make this for tacos. I made it in tacos. I made it for burritos. I took the leftovers from the tacos and I put it on a pizza with pineapple and jalapenos. And then I make the pot roast, which is like a stew. And if it's cold where you live, if you need that warming meal, you need that hands-off meal, you want to make something to eat for 2 days, you need to be making it, okay? I don't know. I can't stress this to you. You need to bite the bullet, get it. It's going to pay off. I promise you it's going to pay off. And also, it's going to make your dinner rotation so much easier. Because like you need a new recipe in there, and you need something you can just make in a big batch and have it for 2 nights that's like filling and good. Like your man, if you have a man in your life, he will like this. He will like this because it's like meat, it's hearty. You get some mashed potatoes in there. You make it for some friends. You make it for a dinner party. Like you can't go wrong. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please let me know if you have specific topics, questions, thoughts that you would like me to talk about in a future episode. And you can leave a comment on the YouTube video, or you can leave a little comment on the link in the podcast description, or you can send me a DM on Instagram, which is field__notes pod on Instagram. And that is all. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.